What if you had the possibility to access an alternate version of reality where you could communicate with an alternate version of yourself and you guys could compare your lives depending on specific decisions that you guys made differently at specific points in your life? Well, the author Ted Chiang created a story about this called Anxiety is the Dizziness of Freedom. And in this story, humanity has invented a machine called the prism. And this prism, which is described kind of like a screen, maybe like this, uses quantum mechanics to access alternate realities. This is how it works. Imagine a guy named Paul. Paul decides to buy a prism. He goes to the store, and at the store, he needs to activate the prism. Now, the moment at which Paul decides to activate the prism for the very first time is extremely important because up until the moment of activation, Paul and alternate Paul will have lived exactly the same lives. However, once the activation happens, these previously parallel versions of Paul will start to branch out in different directions. This basically means that upon activation, they are separated into two independent different life paths, which means that even though it is technically the same person, it's Paul, and they've lived the same lives, at certain points, they are likely to make sometimes different decisions, which following the compound effect of the famous and sometimes infamous butterfly effect will lead them to live very different lives down the line. For instance, imagine Paul again activates his prism like today. Next week, he's invited by his friend to a party. Original Paul, Paul 1, would go to the party. But now that they're separate, Paul 2 thinks about it, he hesitates, and last moment he cancels. OG Paul goes to the party, meets a girl, they start dating, and they end up becoming long-term partners. I actually know a Paul who's dating his long-term girlfriend that he met at a party, so case in point, Paul 2 doesn't go to the party and never meets that girl. You can see how just that one decision has made their lives completely different. Another key feature of the prism, and this is its main selling point, is that once you activated the prism, you can stay in contact with your alternate self and just like call them whenever you want and compare your lives. Now, you can imagine just how severe of an impact that would have on society. For instance, it is said in the story that following the invention of the prism, there have been support groups created, kind of similar to like AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, and things like that, for people who are suffering from deep psychological damage as a direct result of the use of their prism. I guess it's like a prism recovery support group. For instance, in the story, there's this guy named Lyle who bought the prism and keeps regular contact with his alternate self. It turns out that after some time, post-activation, original Lyle decides to quit his job and try something new, while alternate Lyle decides to stay at the same job. To his horror, original Lyle discovers that alternate Lyle, who kept his job, got promoted, and now he's 10 times richer than him. To make matters worse, alternate Lyle says that he also met the love of his life, an amazing woman, and he's going to get married to her. So essentially, he's realizing that his alternate self is way happier than him, and this sends him in a full-blown existential crisis. The other group members kind of had similar issues where they got so obsessed and consumed by the lives of their alternate selves that it just like prevented them from living their own lives in peace. I found this story to be such a powerful metaphor for what a lot of us are going through today. I think a lot of us naturally wonder sometimes if following the butterfly effect, our lives, how vastly different our lives would have been had we made the other choice at certain turning points in our lives. In real life, when you think about it, your siblings, your childhood friends, your old classmates, your colleagues even now, all of those people acted as a parallel version of yourself in a way. With your siblings, until the first sibling leaves the house, you guys are kind of like in this unit where you're living this parallel life and you're both siblings under this family structure and you have the same routines. With your classmates, you're all following the same educational path until you graduate. And with your colleagues, you spend 40 hours a week together, you work on the same goals, and you're following the same path in the same professional community until one of you leaves first. In all of these instances, because you guys were following such similar paths for a little while, you can't help but wonder years later what these people have become, right? And when you think about that, the saying that we're just all mirrors to each other, it really takes on a lot more depth, right? To take things one step further, the metaphor of the prism is even more pertinent today because we actually have literal prisms now in the form of social media platforms. When we use our social media apps, which are our prisms, we follow the lives of all these metaphorical alternate selves. Unfortunately, just like in the story, comparison is the thief of joy. So many of us suffer from the frequent and many times daily use and overuse of these prisms, especially because most of us tend to post only our most flattering and cool and best moments. The worst part now, compared to when social media first started, is that we no longer just compare ourselves. It would be bad enough for us to compare ourselves constantly to all the people we ever knew and with whom we shared for a short moment a parallel life. But now we essentially compare ourselves to everyone in the world all the time. Every time you open social media now, you'll just be flooded with images and videos of people who are happier than you, hundreds of people who are happier than you specifically because they didn't make the same choices as you. If you decide to not get married, you're going to see a bunch of people who get married and then say that it's the best decision that they've ever made. If you decide to have kids, you're going to see a bunch of people online who claim that they are so happy, so rich, so healthy, specifically because they said no to kids. It's the same thing for jobs, for appearance, for countries to live in, for religion, etc., etc. Statistically, it's impossible not to see these things, and also the algorithm likes to keep you slightly dissatisfied because that's when you spend the money, baby. I fall victim to that almost every week. Now, I know this might all seem and sound very dark and discouraging. It is. Like, I myself struggle with this like every day. But that being said, I would like to offer 3 tips / perspective shifts that have significantly alleviated, for me at least, and I hope it will for you too, the dissatisfaction and the overall negativity that comes with excessive comparison or excessive use of your prisms, or just excessive what if ruminations, such as what if I had done this at this point, what if I had made this choice, etc., etc. Number 1, treat your choices as if they were final. There is this 2002 study by Dr. Gilbert and Dr. Ebert. I didn't make that up. It rhymes. And the study is called Decisions and Revisions, the Effective Forecasting of Changeable Outcomes. In this study, they told 2 groups of participants that they could go home with 2 prints that they liked. They told the first group, okay, you can pick the 2 prints that you're going to bring home out of all of these prints, but your decision is final, meaning that once you pick the 2 prints and leave, you cannot change your mind. To the second group, they said that you have 1 week to come back and change your mind and exchange one or both of your prints if you want. Counterintuitively, it is the people who were told that their choice was irreversible who reported significantly higher levels of satisfaction with their prints. The other group ended up suffering from the fact that they kept revisiting their choices, and in the end, they weren't as satisfied with their final choice. Because once the choice is final, the brain can close the file and just accept what is and then make the most of it. On the other hand, when a choice is seen as still reversible, the brain will keep imagining the other options and wondering if those are better. Gilbert and Ebert said that this was part of the psychological immune system, and that is your mind's ability to rationalize and adapt once something is settled. Guys, I cannot express how much I've struggled with this my entire life, to this day actually, which is why I'm talking about it. I flipped my life upside down countless times just because every time I would go on a new direction, I would have these thoughts. Is this really the best way for me to make the most out of my life at this current age that I'm at? Are there better opportunities out there that I should be seizing right now? As in now or never? If I commit too long and too strong to whatever situation I'm in right now, will I regret it down the line? Should I stop what I'm doing because although it's not all bad, it's also not all good and perfect. So maybe I should follow and start doing what this friend is doing, or maybe I should start doing what this friend are doing, or this family member, or what this person online is doing, or what this person online is doing, or this person. You get the gist, and you get why This type of rumination is extremely counterproductive. Now, I'm also not saying that you need to stay in whatever geographical, professional, personal relationship that you're currently in forever. What I'm saying is that next time you make a choice that feels significant to you, tell yourself, okay, I'm going to make this choice, and for the foreseeable future, this choice is going to be final, meaning that until I have given it my bona fide best shot, and you know when you do and when you don't, but until you have given it your best shot, then you're not even going to entertain the idea of other possibilities. Number 2, properly grieve the choices you didn't pick. I think something that a lot of us tend to do is that when we do make one of those big life decisions, we then just go in that direction. Subconsciously, we're gonna dismiss and devalue the other options that we had just to make ourselves feel a little bit better and more confident about said choice. And while I know that it seems like I'm contradicting myself a little bit by calling that out, because we just looked at the study that proves that treating your decisions as final is best, I'm more so talking about something that needs to be done right before you make your final decision. And that is to properly grieve the choices that you are going to leave behind. Grief in many ways is very similar to digestion in that if you don't grieve properly, things are going to get stuck, and very quickly things are going to get very uncomfortable. For instance, if you decide to pursue your passion and leave the stable but very unfulfilling job that you have, you need to fully acknowledge and grieve the stability that you are giving up. You need to tell yourself, okay, I'm giving up this substantial thing, stability, which is very important to me, but I'm still giving it up because if I don't pick option A, which is to pursue my passion right now, I'm going to be riddled with regret. And who knows, even down the line, I might be so miserable that I'm going to lose the job that has stability anyway. And this might sound a little bit maybe useless or obvious, but later on, once you will go through one of the difficulties that is caused by you having given up that other thing, you will be very grateful that you have done that work because you'll be able to be prepared and tell yourself, yes, this is one of the things that I knew that I sacrificed and that I would be struggling with by choosing this path. And it sucks and I'm stressed, but it's okay. If you don't do this, you're going to feel so unprepared and taken aback. And when it happens, you're so much more likely to freak out and tell yourself, wait, I think I made a mistake. I'm so stupid. I should have taken the other option. And you're going to start shaming yourself. Or what's going to happen is that you're going to start to project and you're going to start projecting on people who have taken the other options. You're going to start to devalue them. You're going to start to think negatively of them, or you might even start being jealous of them. That is why it is so important that right before you make this final choice, you acknowledge everything that you're going to sacrifice. And make no mistake, there is no choice that involves zero sacrifice. Like you can't have it all in life. Also, one last thing on this point is that if you pick option A and down the line you want to switch to option B, you're not a failure for that. That would just reflect the fact that time, age, experiences, and the people that we meet change us, all of us. Number 3, it really is those damn phones. During COVID, I was alone in a little studio for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. And it really did a number on me. Like I was not well. And one of the many things that I did as I was spiraling in this studio was sign up to a free course that was offered by Yale University. And it was a course on the study of happiness. And I think it was on the very first or maybe the second day of that course, the professor that was teaching it was talking about this study that found that once TVs were introduced into normal people's homes, like the average family's home, the average life satisfaction dropped immediately. And the reason for that is because of the magnification of what they call the keeping up with the Joneses effect. In other words, before the introduction of the TV into your home, you were just comparing yourself to your neighbors, the Joneses. But with the introduction of TV, you are now comparing yourself to celebrities. Now you compare yourself with the top 1% richest, the top 1% prettiest, the top 1% healthiest, fittest, funniest, most charming, has the best taste in clothes, has the best house, has the best family, has the best love life, the top 1% of everything every day. Now, even if we know this, we both know that we're not really going to stop using all social media apps anytime soon because one, they are very practical. We use it for many different things. And two, they have made that shit as addictive as Coke. All I'm going to say is that when you do cave and end up doom scrolling, at least try comparing and doom scrolling critically. Ask yourself, okay, well, when I'm seeing the top 1% prettiest, would I sacrifice everything and put all my time, money, and energy just to be very good looking? When you look at the top 1% richest, would you sacrifice your family life, your social life, your romantic life, everything, your time, your hobbies, your sleep? Would you sacrifice all of that to be as rich as you can? Ask yourself, is there really one person that has it all? Like, I'm talking to you about the richest, funniest, smartest, coolest, la, 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 la. Is there really one person that has it all? And even one person that has it all? And even if some people do appear to have it all, do you really know? And ask yourself, is my life really that bad? Like, am I really soaking in all of the good parts of it? And have I really given it all of my best shots? Also, last but definitely not least, how much time are you actually spending living your real life in the real world versus living vicariously through other people's lives in the virtual world? Because I hate to break it to you, like I hate that our brains are so weak or whatever, but the less time you spend living real life and doing real things and as many diverse things as possible, the less real life is going to feel real. And the more this virtual world is going to feel real to you. And you're going to end up in a situation where you're actually spending most of your time laying down like this. And your virtual world is going to be huge, endless, but your real world is going to be this small. And I say this with a lot of empathy because I have firsthand experience of this. Like ever since COVID, especially, like I have these ups and downs, and during my downs, I just like isolate at home. And I think I love it, but it's just because I'm kind of like in WALL-E, like I'm just kept mildly satisfied through the use of endless entertainment. But it hit me that before, the majority of my social interactions were offline. They were in person. And now it's the opposite. I hate it. I see how negatively it's impacting me and a lot of people, and I'm going to do my best to reverse that trend. So all of this to say, do not fall for these prisms. Do not mistake them for reality. Keep using them, I will, but just remember that you are the human in the real world, and this is just a tool. This should just be a fragment of your life. And talking about life, try to connect with life as much as possible every day. And when I say life, I mean plants, I mean animals, and I mean people. Also art, human art. All right, that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye.